Hello, hello everybody. Today we cover the last part of lesson 30 grammar, which is equally the last part of the grammar for this book as well. So this long journey slowly comes to an end. Most important meters. Old meters number of syllables per line constant with only rare resolution of a long into two shorts, giving an extra syllable under the influence of the new meters. So here we have Vatta, the epic narrative meter, only approximately quantitative, 8 syllables per line, the contrasting cadence of alternate lines giving a verse of 2 dissimilar lines repeated. In the epic style, there is a tendency to use this as a line of 16 syllables, not organized in verses, which is very appropriate and flexible for continuous narrative. So here we have the outline of the meter, and equally we have Anutuppa, the archaic form of Vatta, in which the alternate lines are not contrasted. And here again, these lines. The cadence of the prior Vatta line are also admitted. Anutuppa and Vatta are the most common verses in both Pali and Sanskrit. In Sanskrit, Vakkara and Anushtup. They make up, I think, like 80 or 90% of the verses. Now, there's a few examples here we have, and you can already see it in the exercise, the majority of the verses are Anutuppa or Vatta verses. Abhyaso naijaktavyo yena uttarakuru rama mahaneru sutasano manusa tatajayanti amama aparikaha nati bichang pavappanti napi niyanti nangala akattapakimang saling paripunjanti manusa, and so on. Now, it is good practice to read a verse without melody, even like this, Natte bichang pavappanti napi niyanti nangala akattapakimang saling paripunjanti manusa, and with the melody, so that you can do both. And remember, one verse can have has one meter, but the melody can switch. It can even be different. For example, Vakatavi sampriktau nati bichang pavappanti napiniyanti nangala akatta pakimam sading paripunjanti manusa. So again, one meter but different melodies. The next one we'll cover is the tuttupa or jakati, normally 11 tuttupa or 12 jakati syllables per line. These two meters, which have different cadences, are freely mixed, though they may also be used separately. There is a caesura, a slight pause, which in Sanskrit is called, in the Pali it also should be called yati, after either the fourth or the fifth syllable. So here you have the yatis here, and the caesura in one of the marked positions. By a mixture of an opening with the yati or the caesura at the fifth, with a continuation as per caesura at the fourth, we occasionally find a tutuppa of 12 syllables or a jakati of 13. So here these variations. All right. And tutuppa and jakati, I think we can just use the same tune or melody as I used to have for upajati. Ujjami Brahma Nangsanang Kumarang Kanki Akanking Paravediyesu Kata Tito Kim Hijasikkamano Papoti Macho Amatang Brahmalokan Itva Mamatang Manuje Sudbrahme Ekoti Bhuto Karuna Dimotto Itat Tito Tat sorry, etatitote tacha sikkamano papoti macho amatang brahmalokan. Interesting here again that the sandhi isn't observed. So in Pali, it seems to be quite flexible, or it is quite flexible. New meters, the total quantity of each line constant, the unit in counting being the matta, quantity of one short syllable, number of syllables variable. Matta chandas, measure meter, cadence fixed, being the last 5 of 6 or 6 syllables, rest widely variable, provided the total quantity is constant. There are always 2 dissimilar lines repeated. We have, for example, the Vitalia lines 1 and 3 contain 14 mattas, 2 and 4 contain 16. So the cadence is garu, lahu, garu, lahu, garu, or lahu. This is the meter. I don't think we have a Vitalia here. No. But the Upachandasaka as Vitalia, but with 2 extra mattas in each line resulting from the longer cadence. Very rarely, Vitalia and Upachandasaka are mixed. Another meter originally of this class is the Swagata, which being less flexible, is usually classified under Akkara Chandas, see below. And Upachandasaka, do we have this one? I think we have it. Yes. But I have no idea how to recite it. So maybe just read it. Kandi paramang tapo tittika nibbanam paramang vandati buddha. Okay, maybe. Kanti paramang tapo tittika nibbanam paramang vandanti buddha nahi papachitto parupakati samano hoti param vidhite yanto. Maybe. Not entirely sure. Then we have the Gana Chandas, the bar meter, not found in the Digha Nikaya, strictly musical and exactly quantitative, like musical rhythms. Giti, 2 or 3 lines of 30 mattas each only theoretically divisible into 2 quarter verses. Each of the 2 lines is organized in 8 bars called Gana, of 4 mattas each, there being a rest of 2 mattas at the end. The characteristic rhythm is guru, lahu lahu, or guru, garu, garu, lahu, garu, lahu. The 2 bars, though, this is simply a base on which variation is freely made. So Giti we have here as well, maybe. I think I spotted one previously. I'm not entirely sure. No, I didn't see anyone, but I had one from the teacher Kashinat. And he recites the Giti as follows. Second. Let me just include the sound.
गीति जय शिव शंकर शंभो जय गिरिजाधीश जय जय सांब सदा शिव पशुपति जगदीश ओम हर 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 महादेव.
Okay. Arya, a line of 30 mattas, as in Giti, followed by a line of 27 mattas, the cadence being syncopated. We don't have an aria here, or do we? But I have an aria myself in Sanskrit. And aria actually doesn't have, precisely because it's a Mata Chandas, belongs to the Mata Chandas, it doesn't really have a tune. So Kashinat also doesn't really have a melody when reciting the aria.
आर्य मृगमीन सज्जनानां तृणजलसन्तोषविहितवृत्तीनां लुब्धकधीवरपिशुना निष्कारणं वैरिणो जगति.
So it would be something like Sharadi Navarshati Garchati Varshati Varshasu Nisvano Mega Nicho Vadati Nakurude Navarati Suchano Karotyeva. However, my teacher from Leipzig University, he takes a bit more freedom in reciting aria, and to my opinion, he adds a quite beautiful melody, going something like this. Sharadina Varshati Garchati Varshati Varshasunisvano Mega Nijo Vadatina Kurute Navadati Suchana Karotyeva. This aria. Derived meters these represent a third phase, which subsequently became the dominant style in the literature, along with a somewhat restricted form of the vatta for continuous narrative. The tendency is for both the quantity and the number of syllables to be fixed. In the Pali canon, these meters still retain a good deal of flexibility, whilst in later Indian literature, they are given forms absolutely fixed except for the last syllable of each line. Now, we have the Akkara Chandas. So here it is according to the syllables. This is like this strictly musical, meaning like as one full note equals to half notes, here one long syllable equals to short syllables. We have three subcategories of Akkara Chandas, meaning we have Samavutta, the equal meter, the Atta Samavutta, the half equal meter, and the Visamavutta, the dissimilar meter. So Samavutta as the equal meter, so four lines which are completely equal. That's why we only put here the first pada, the first stanza, and then have it times four. Atta Samavutta, two lines are this little bit like half similar. So these two lines are dissimilar. Then it gets repeated. That's why we put here times two. And lastly, Visamavutta. It's a four dissimilar lines. That's why we need to put all the four padas here, or the four stanzas. So we start with the easy ones, the Samavutta, out of which Upajati we start with here. Upajati is the most common meter when it comes to longer meters. Eleven syllables it has, is a form of tuttuba, fixed. We don't have an Upajati verse here, however, I do. First of all, we can listen to Kashinath's Upajati.
उपजातिः ब्रह्मालबालं भुवनैकपालं यशो विशालं शिशुपालकालं संसारमायामतिमोहजालं बालं मुकुन्दं शिरसा नमामि अनन्तरोदीरितलक्ष्मभाजौ पादौ यदीयावुपजातयस्ताः इत्थं किलान्यास्वपि मिश्रितासु वदन्ति जातिस्विदमेव नाम
Vidya vivadaya danam madaya shakti paresham paripidanaya kalasya sador viparitametaч chanaya danaya charakshanaya. One can also recite it in a slightly different fashion, emphasizing the third pada a little bit more. Anantaparang kila shastam svalpam tadayorbhavashavigna sarantato grahyamapasya palgo hansaya dakshiramivam kirau kalapo gagane payoda lakshantere akashashaleshu patmam Indo Tvilakshi Kumudasya Pandor Yo Yasradhityo Nahitasya Doram Shrotram Shrutenaiva Kundalena Danena Panirna Tu Kanganena Vibhatikaya Kalu Satchananam Paropakarena Nachandanena Yogena Chitasya Padena Vacham Valam Sharirasya Cha Vaityakena Yopakarotam pravaram muninam patanjalim branjaliranathosmi. With upajati, the first syllable can either be long or short. Then we have two subcategories of upajati, one being upendravachta, where the first syllable is always short, and indravachta, where the first syllable is always long. So first, let's go to the upendravachta. Here the first syllable is always short. Tvam eva mata chapita tvameva bandhushcha saka tvameva vidya travinam tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Paropakaraya palanti vriksha, paropakaraya vahanti natya, paropakaraya duhanti gava, Paropakarartamidam shariram. And Indravatsha. Here the first syllable is always long. Danena panena to kankanena snanena shuddhirna to chandanena manena triptirna to bhochanena snanena muktirna to mundanena. Very beautiful verse from Bodhicharyavatara, from Shantideva's Bodhicharyavatara. Ratrau yatame gaganandakare vityut kshanam darshayati prakasham uddhanubhavena tathagatacha lokasya punyeshu mati kshanam syat. Rupasya hantri vyasanam balasya shokasya yonir nidanam ratinam ashasmrtinam ripudintriyanam esha jaranam mayayaisha paknaha. So this being from Ashwagosha's Buddha Charita. All right, so I think we have sufficiently covered the Upajati. Next one being Ratuttata, a form of Vitalia. So let's see, Ratuttata we have here. Maybe I just need to revise a bit with Kashinats. Ratuttata.
रथोद्धता नन्दनन्दनपदारविन्दयोः स्यन्दमानमकरन्दविन्दवः सिन्धव परमसौख्यसम्पदां नन्दयन्तु हृदयं ममानिशम्
Geham avasati chetatavito akkatang vachati kama bhoginam tena utaritarona vichati chambudipan api bhuya iriyati. Okay, needs a bit more practice on my side, I believe. Vantata, a form of Jagati fixed. So this should be, I think, 13 syllables or 12 syllables. 12 syllables, okay. Vanchata we also have. Sache chadamme samyame soche yasila layupo sate sucha. Tane ahimsaya asahasirato talham samadhaya samatang vachari. Pure purata purima sujatsu manussabhuto bahunang sukavaho. Ubeka utta sabaya panutano kutti suraka barane usuko. Next one. Amitakara. I'm Ruchira. Amitakara. Upangamano suchari tesu aho. Tamme sutamma chariya pirato. Anvayiko bahujanassaho. Sakke suvedayita punyapalam. That's a bit longer. Let's see. I'm not entirely sure with Ruchira. Not so confident with Ruchira right now. Okay. The Attasamavutta, Putpitakra in Uppitaka and in Sanskrit Pushpitakra. It is especially peculiar of its 6 short syllables in the beginning, making it quite quick when you recite it. So maybe recite a verse which I'm a bit more familiar with. Pitaramapi sutam jabalam Janamanuraktamanuttamam jalakshmim Kritimaterapahaya nirvapeksha Vitinagarat satato vinirjagama. This is also from Ashwagosha's Buddha Charita. Let's see if I can pull it off without embarrassing myself. Shaviya punaritaka Shaviya punaritakato samano. 1 second. Pitaramapi sutam jabalam Shaviya punaritakato samano Karacharana mudutan cha chalino cha Atiruchira suvakuta saneyam Patilapati taharo susukumaro. Okay, difficult, needs more practice, definitely. Swagata, nice one. Again, let me recite one which I'm slightly more familiar with from Chandrakirti Madhyamaka Vatara Satvaloka Matapa Chanalokam Chittame Varachayatati Chitram Karmacham Hichagaroktamashesham Karmachittamavadu Yachanasti Chetvakilam Chetvapalikam Indakilam Uhachama Necha Techaranti Sutat Vimala Chakumata Tanta Susunaga. Beautiful. Visamavutta. Upattita Patshupattita. I don't think I can recite this one. And Ukkata. I wish. No. I also don't find any example of Kashinat. So maybe we just stop here for the moment. But hopefully you get a bit of an introduction here in the verses. So let us just revise a little bit. The most common meters in Pali and in Sanskrit is Anutuppa, in Sanskrit Anushtup, and Vatta, in Sanskrit Vaktra. And these make up like 80 or 90% of the verses. If you can recite this one properly without the melody and with the melody, then you have already a very nice experience of success, because you can recite properly the majority of the verses. And it gives you also a very good insight how you should read the verse, because let us maybe show it one more time. If you recite it properly, and if the verse is also quite say it clean, I'm not sure if this is the right word, then the meaning is not carried over, or words are not carried over the pada break. So this is like, so 1 second. Abhyaso nahityaktabhyo aturasa eva pesacham ojanam va chikachato panipaya patte parinipaya. Oh, sorry. Parinipapaya patte charantam iva varina. So this is the first pada here. You can, it helps your translation even once you can read it properly. The third pada, chalantam iva varina, and fourth pada. And even without having translated, it gives you already an insight how to divide the verse in which you want to translate it. Sometimes the meaning, if the meaning is a little bit longer, is carried over to another pada, but usually it's kept to one pada, so it fits quite nice. And then from the longer meters, then Upajati is most common, and then we have other meters as well. Upajati we didn't have here. Okay. All right. So far as a quick introduction to the verses. Then Purnadasanaya Tava Bhaveya Subham Mangalam.